So, week 2, VLab 2, or if you're following along in your lab book, this will be Lab 4, identifying and removing malware from Windows systems. So I've already clicked on our week 2 VLab 2 setup. Here are the lab steps. When you're ready, go ahead and click on Start Assessment. Make sure that you review the submission requirements, and when you're ready to access it, go ahead and access VLab. So I'm using Chrome. You may get 1 or 2 Java pop-ups. Go ahead and allow them to run. This preparation for the lab setup can take anywhere between 5 minutes and 15 minutes, just kind of depending. So while this is loading, I figured now would be a perfect time to do some of the common malware types. In our lab document this week, you'll see that we have viruses, trojans, worms, spyware, backdoors, rootkits. These aren't, like when you think malware, malware is just a large umbrella term, and right now, normally we have 2 types of umbrella terms, viruses and malware. A virus is not normally classified as malware, they're separate umbrella terms. Like spyware. Spyware falls under malware. Ransomware, adware, other forms of malicious code, all malware. Where under viruses, trojans, worms, those are all classified as viruses. Interesting enough, on this list, ransomware is not touched at all. Ransomware is a type of malware that holds data files ransom, and that's actually growing in popularity lately. It's been a huge issue. And I was able to talk the entire time while that was loading. It does take a few minutes for your VM to fully load, so do be patient. So once it goes ahead and loads, we're going to go ahead and this is a pop-up that you may or may not see. What this is saying is the target Windows 01 machine, the virtual machine that we're going to be RDPing, is still loading, so we have to be patient. All of our machines have to be fully loaded before we can access this. Okay, now that all of our VMs are loaded, we're going to go ahead and open up AVG. Luckily, they're at least using the Business Edition, because, I mean, the different versions of AVG do matter, licensing and whatnot. First thing we want to do is we want to make sure it's up to date, so we're going to go ahead and update now. The updating process could take anywhere between a few minutes and longer, depending on the internet connection, so just be patient. I'm going to go ahead and pause it while it checks for updates, because I'm not sure quite how long this will take. Okay, so I tried updating it twice. It keeps failing, so we'll just go ahead and move on from there. So what happens when you get to the point where you have a file, but your antivirus keeps viewing it as infected or as a virus, even though you know it's not? So we're going to add some items to our exceptions list. Underneath Options, Advanced Settings, almost every antivirus does have an exception list. We just have to find it. Here it's Exceptions, and we're going to add in our appropriate folder. Normally this is where we would be setting them, but here we're actually going to be removing our exception, because I bet inside that folder there's probably going to be a virus, or code that seems to be a virus. So we're going to go ahead and scan now. And it will go ahead and it will scan all of the objects. And I'm going to assume it's going to find at least 1 or 2 files. At least for that Helix folder that we actually did included. Okay, so around 75%, that's where threats started popping up. Okay, that's where it started scanning the helix file. But we're almost done. But I wanted to point that out, is as they start scanning certain folders, you'll just start seeing those threats start coming in fairly quick. Okay, so once we're finished, we have our summary view, which is just showing that we have 9 potentially dangerous threats, but we want to see additional details. Oh. Normally when you click on it, you get the details pane. So we are showing 6 high priority found and 6 removed. Medium priority is 3, and they removed 3. We want to go ahead and export this to a file, so export overview to a file. So we want to navigate to this PC, to C drive, security strategies, and we want to name it our name underscore AVG. It's going to be stored as a comma separated value, a CSV. That just means that between each of the major things there will be a comma so that we can import or export that data to other data analytic tools like Excel. Excel is one of the big ones. So what happens if we want more additional information? We can actually go to detections. I'm going to go ahead and nope, I cannot maximize this window. This one will actually show what was found. It will show kind of what they are, the threat names, where they were at. So let's go ahead and look at our first threat. Our first threat was found at the Windows Win32DH. That right there. That's its name. Its severity is high. It's an executable. You can see where it's at. That way you can do additional information if you chose to. I'm not going to show you how to research them, but pretty much if you look up that name on the internet, you'll find some detailed information. It wants you to do that for all of the 6 major threats. I'm not going to do those steps. You guys can do that yourself. Go ahead and close out of everything. You should now see that we are fully protected. We won't get a fully protected screen because we cannot update, but we have no viruses. So what happens if we want to see what's in our vault, what has been quarantined, and how to remove them? So we can actually go to Options, go to our virus vault. That's where all viruses are moved to when they're found. So we actually want to go ahead and empty all of this. Are you sure you want to empty them? Yes. That way none of them are stored on the computer. They do that so just in case it found a virus and deleted it, that really wasn't a virus, we have an option or a way to recover from them. So that's part 1. We can go ahead and exit out of our AVG. And now on to part 2. We're going to be setting up a scan for Server 2008 using Windows Defender. So we're going to go to our RDP folder, open up our Windows 01 RDP session, and it should auto log in for us because it already saved the credentials, which is weird, but it is what it is. Okay, so once this loads, you may or may not get a few pop-ups, so close all the pop-ups. We're going to go to Computer. So this is where some people were having problems. We want to go to C drive on the other machine. We want a copy of this file right here, but we want to move that into our RDP session. So how we do that is, we could copy and paste it, but that's not what the instructions say. We've actually mapped this, the other hard drives from the first computer to our RDP session. So go to C drive, go to Users, go to Administrator, go to desktop, and there is our folder, or our file. Go ahead and move that over to our desktop. So how are we sure that this is our physical machine's desktop? Let's double check. Let's create a new folder, or new file. This isn't one of the steps, but I always like to be able to show people that they are linked. I'm going to call mine tests. I'm going faster than the computer is going, so it's kind of lagging a little bit. And there's our test document. So they are the same location. I just wanted to point that out. So we're going to go ahead and open up Server Manager, because we would need to install a few features. So we can go ahead and exit out of our window, navigate to Administrative Tools, Server Manager, and we're going to be adding a feature. It's kind of slow today, so you just got to be patient. So when we're here, we're going to go to Features. We're going to add a feature. We're going to be adding the desktop experience. We're going to be hitting Next. We're going to install the Windows Desktop Experience. This will install it, then prompt a restart. Because this virtual machine has to be restarted, we are going to have to, once it's done installing, restart it. But there's going to be a delay, because when we restart it, it actually has to restart. So we will actually have to pause the video for about 5 minutes while this is restarting. The installation process can take a minute or two. Okay, so there it is finished. We're going to go ahead and close it. It will prompt you for a restart. Click on Yes. It will close out the RDP session. And now give it 5 minutes and try double clicking on Target Windows 01 RDP again. But you have to give it a few minutes because that machine is restarting. Okay, so it should be long enough. Let's go ahead and connect to our RDP session. Oh, it's still doing updates, so just got to be patient, close out of it, give it another few minutes. Okay, so it should be fully loaded now. Shouldn't be doing any of the updates. So once it go ahead and connects, we're going to actually be launching our file that we copied over, because that was actually a Bitdefender update file. There it is. Let's go and run that. The VMs are running kind of slow, so again, you have to be patient with them. You may get 2 or 3 pop-ups. Go ahead and close them. I think I'm trying to move faster than the computer will let me, so I'm going to slow down a little bit. Okay, so there we go. We're going to go ahead and close up all the pop-ups. We're going to redo our update file. We actually shouldn't get any type of response. It should actually just go. And that really should be it. So from there, we're going to go ahead and open up our Windows Defender. So start, all programs, it should be Windows Defender. First time we view it, it should actually show that there should be new updates. Our instructions actually want us to click on up here with the little down arrow and check for updates. You could also check there. Either works. It's checking for new updates. This can take some time, so again, be patient. It actually is showing that we cannot. With this update, that actually updated us to 4.13 of 2015. That's good enough for what we want. Normally we want to make sure they're fully up to date, but sometimes within our lab environment, it's not always that easy. So we're actually going to do a quick scan. So go over to scan, click on the little down arrow, quick scan. It will do a fast scan of common areas, and it shouldn't take very long. Though I'm not sure, so I'm going to go ahead and pause it while it does its scan. So the scan took about 5 minutes. So we actually want to go ahead and check the history of the scan. And for our history, all of the scans, any item found should be listed here. We also have the ability to review allowed items or quarantine items. These are all empty because we didn't quarantine anything. But I click tools, not history. We also have an allowed items. Just anything that we do find as malware we can allow. And that's actually it for this lab. If it did find anything, you're supposed to do a explain your findings. So for our history, quarantine items, if there was any items in your list, go find out why they were quarantined, what they are, what they do. And that's this lab in a nutshell. I want to thank you and have a great day.